A lot of people have heard the word espresso hundreds of times and still aren't quite sure what it actually is. Is it a type of coffee bean? A roast? Something you can only get at a cafe? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Espresso is one of those things everyone uses daily without anyone properly explaining it. So this video is going to change that. We're going to cover what espresso actually is, how it works, why it tastes different from regular coffee, what all the popular espresso drinks mean, and how to start making it at home. Everything explained clearly, from the very beginning, with no assumptions about what you already know. Let's start with the basics. Espresso is not a type of coffee bean, and it's not a roast level. Espresso is a brewing method. The way most coffee is made, hot water slowly drips through coffee grounds using gravity. That's how drip coffee makers and pour-over coffee work. Espresso is completely different. It pushes hot water through very finely ground coffee using pressure, and the whole process takes about 25 to 30 seconds. What comes out is a small, concentrated shot, packed with flavor, in a way that a full cup of drip coffee simply isn't. One of the first things you'll notice about a fresh espresso shot is the layer of golden foam on top, called crema. Crema forms when coffee oils and carbon dioxide combine during brewing. It's not just for looks. Crema carries aroma and contributes to the smooth, thick texture of a good espresso. And the fresher your beans, the better your crema will be. A well-made espresso also has 3 distinct layers. The top is the crema, light and foamy. The middle is called the body, where most of the sweetness and richness lives. The bottom is called the heart, darker and slightly more bitter. Together, they create a drink that's surprisingly complex for something so small. One more thing worth knowing early. Espresso doesn't automatically have more caffeine than regular coffee. A single shot actually has less total caffeine than a full mug of drip coffee in most cases, simply because the serving size is much smaller. Now that you know what espresso is, it helps to understand why it tastes so different from regular coffee. 3 things set it apart: pressure, grind size, and brew time. Regular coffee relies on gravity to pull water through the grounds slowly. Espresso machines use around 9 bars of pressure, which is roughly 9 times the normal atmospheric pressure. That pressure is what extracts flavor so much faster and more intensely. And it's also responsible for creating the crema and giving espresso that thick, syrupy texture you don't get from other methods. Espresso also requires a much finer grind than drip coffee. Ground so fine it almost feels like powder between your fingers. And where a pot of drip coffee takes several minutes to brew, espresso is finished in about 30 seconds. These 3 things working together, pressure, fine grind, and fast extraction, are what make espresso completely unique and why nothing else tastes quite like it. This is the part most beginners come looking for. Almost every espresso drink at a coffee shop is just a combination of espresso, milk, foam, and sometimes water. Once you understand that pattern, the whole menu makes sense. An americano is espresso with hot water added. It's smoother and less intense than straight espresso, and is the closest thing to regular black coffee while still being espresso-based. A latte is espresso with a generous amount of steamed milk and a thin layer of foam on top. The milk softens everything and makes it creamy and easy to drink, which is why lattes are one of the most popular coffee drinks in the world. A cappuccino uses the same ingredients as a latte, but shifts the proportions to 1 part espresso, 1 part steamed milk, and 1 part foam. More foam means a thicker texture and a stronger coffee flavor. If you enjoy lattes but want something with more coffee presence, a cappuccino is the next step. A flat white is similar to a latte but smaller, with less foam and a velvety microfoam texture that lets the espresso flavor come through much more clearly. It's a favorite among people who actually want to taste the coffee. A mocha adds chocolate syrup to the mix, making it the sweetest and mildest of the group. The simple way to think about all these drinks is as a scale. On one end is straight espresso, bold and concentrated. On the other is a mocha, sweet and mild. Everything else sits somewhere in between, depending on how much milk and foam is added. A lot of beginners focus entirely on the machine and almost none on the coffee itself. But the beans matter just as much, sometimes more. Coffee loses flavor after roasting and loses it even faster after grinding, which is why freshly roasted and freshly ground coffee always tastes noticeably better than a pre-ground bag sitting on the shelf for months. If your espresso tastes flat or dull, stale beans are usually the first thing to check. For espresso, medium and dark roasts are the most common starting point. They produce fuller body and flavors like chocolate, caramel, and nuts that work well on their own and in milk drinks. Lighter roasts can taste fruity or floral, but are harder to dial in and better suited once you have some experience. The grinder also matters significantly. Espresso needs a very consistent grind, which is why a burr grinder is recommended over a blade grinder. A burr grinder crushes beans evenly, while a blade grinder chops them randomly into uneven sizes, causing uneven extraction where parts of the shot taste sour and other parts taste bitter. Many home baristas say a quality grinder matters more than an expensive machine. Making espresso at home sounds intimidating, but the process is straightforward once you walk through it. Grind your beans fine and add about 18 grams into the portafilter, which is the handle-shaped piece that attaches to the machine and holds the coffee. Use a tamper to press the coffee down into a flat, even surface. This step is called tamping, and it matters more than most beginners expect because uneven tamping causes water to flow unevenly through the coffee and ruins the shot. Lock the portafilter into the machine and start brewing. A reliable beginner target is 18 grams of coffee in and about 36 grams of liquid espresso out in roughly 25 to 30 seconds. This is called a 1:2 ratio, and it's a solid place to start. Watch how the shot pours. Good espresso flows steadily and smoothly, almost like warm honey being pulled slowly downward. If it rushes out too fast or splatters, something needs adjusting. If it drips very slowly and takes over 40 seconds, that also needs fixing. Then taste it. Sour or sharp usually means the extraction was too fast and you need a finer grind. Bitter or harsh means it was too slow and you need to go slightly coarser. Balanced espresso tastes sweet, smooth, and rich. The first few shots probably won't be perfect, and that's completely normal. Every shot teaches you something, and the adjustments get smaller over time. Knowing the most common mistakes ahead of time saves a lot of frustration. Using stale beans is the most frequent one. Coffee that has been sitting around for months will taste flat and lifeless, no matter how good your technique is. So always check the roast date on the bag and try to use beans within a few weeks of it. Grinding too coarse is the second most common issue. Most beginners default to a grind that is far too coarse, which causes water to rush through too fast and produces weak, sour espresso. When unsure, go a little finer. Uneven tamping is another one. If the coffee surface isn't level, water finds the weak spots and rushes through unevenly in a process called channeling, which ruins extraction. Press straight down and keep the surface flat. Expecting straight espresso to taste like a milk drink is a common disappointment too. Without milk, espresso is naturally bold and intense, and that's by design. It can take a little time to appreciate, but most people come to love it. And finally, getting too focused on hitting exact numbers rather than actually tasting what's in the cup. Ratios and brew times are helpful starting points, not strict rules. If it tastes good, it is good. Espresso feels difficult at the start and becomes genuinely enjoyable with practice. The fundamentals are simple: fresh beans, the right grind, consistent technique, and a willingness to adjust based on what you taste. Understanding espresso also makes everything at a coffee shop easier. Once you know what goes into a latte or a flat white, ordering feels natural, and the drinks taste better when you understand what's behind them. Whether your goal is to finally understand what's on the menu, make better coffee at home, or just appreciate what goes into that small, concentrated cup, espresso is worth learning. Start simple, taste everything, and adjust as you go. That's really all there is to it. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. There's a lot more where this came from, and trust me, your morning cup is about to get a whole lot better.